Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I'm just going to walk you through the importance of having well established emergency risk and crisis management reporting. Here's my agenda. I'll do an introduction. I'll talk to you about emergency preparedness. I'll talk about disasters, and I'll just go in about different areas of policy development. Here's a brief bio about myself. I'm a CPA, CGA for over 35 years. I have a solid background in public policy work. I used to teach a public finance course for about 8 years for CGA Ontario, and I'm actively involved with public policy reviews. So I'll give you some of my perspective of what I see and how things can be changed. Like anything else, we're seeing a day doesn't go by. We're seeing some sort of emergency action happen, whether that's a flood, whether that's a geopolitical event, potential trade. It could be anything from floods, hurricane, fires, and its ability of the public sector to basically be sustainable, right? So if they're faced with a flood or something, where's the resiliency? And when they kick in that resiliency, what are they doing to mitigate the stuff factor when it happens? How do they put their plan in place to mitigate the results of these disasters, floods or fires? As you can see, the cost of disasters here, like you're seeing drought 11.6 billion, 6.4 billion for wildfire, floods 4.6. Now, it's easy to blame everything on climate change, and I won't make this presentation about that. But the reality of this is the Earth is only so big. Urban planning has to play a key role in this, and that means areas of fire mitigation, flood mitigation, cybersecurity protection around the infrastructure. It really means looking at the critical money you need to spend to mitigate from potential disasters. This gives you an idea in the U.S. where he is, and from tornadoes to fires and all that, the cost. Um, it's not just a U.S. issue; it's a global issue. Most cases, local governments and state and provincial and territorials and even the federal have a certain amount of emergency preparedness. That's why in the U.S. they have FEMA. Canada has their own policies that they push down when there's fires and something to support. I just think there's more that can be done to mitigate this, including more reporting, more collaboration, more coordination. I brought in cyber attacks because they're becoming more and more critical to resiliency. We're seeing more and more attacks of critical infrastructure, whether that's transit, whether that's water systems, and these are critical to drive the throughput of what's going on in a local government. We need water for life, so these are critical. So you're looking at particular areas. Now they've bucketed this into healthcare, finance, government, enterprise, and education. In a lot of cases where this is on cyber, it's really coming in where you're vulnerable. I always emphasize on anything that you need to invest both in software solutions and training, as well as having the right processes around basically doing health checks and cybersecurity. I can't overemphasize the need for preparedness. Um, yes, we can. Somebody can argue right, left, or center around the frequencies of these disasters, but we can also look at cities like Houston, how much they have grown, and what's happened with in terms of their natural carbon sinks, their water management, just the overall vegetation and stuff that happens there. You look at cities like Phoenix have gone significantly through growth, and whether they struggling with water. You look at Yellowknife that had an evacuation last summer due to fires. What are they doing to mitigate a ring around that city to prevent potential wildfires from happening? One city potentially recently it did it is Whitehorse, Yukon actually built a fire break around the city. So you can see you need to have the planning, you need to have the investment, you need to have the commitment, and you need to be able to do response. And that's where your incident commanders have to come in, and you need to be able to execute a plan. The challenges that you're faced with emergency planning, preparedness, or poor planning, um, most cases is the old past was difficult to get information, but with geospatial technology and other satellite technology, you're able to pull that together and build better models off that, and you can do more collaboration. So if you're at a local level, you work with your county, You work with your province, you look with the federal government at that level. You also have to make key decisions around your urban planning and your infrastructure, how you protect them. And that's key with planning. You need to have allocated funds. If you're living by a river system, you need to look at your diversions of what you can do to mitigate that, fire breaks. You just need to kind of really think it out how you're going to basically protect the infrastructure in case of some sort of event. Inability to leverage data and AI. Well, data and AI, especially on the generative side with the predictable side, has just come more rise because we're able to work with it, multivariants and different data to pull it together. And of course, the lack of focus on mitigation. I've always stressed that you need to be proactive in this. That means you should be testing your emergency preparedness policies, programs, and reportings on a consistent basis. A lot of communities, a lot of areas of organizations do test it. I just think there's more that can be done. We're also seeing, as we move to the green transition, significant concerns around that infrastructure. We're seeing, fires with EVA vehicles, and we need to make sure our public safety people are prepared to respond to them. Cybersecurity threats are not going away, so there needs to be key investments in that area. ESG is driving a lot of social governance reporting and the overall environmental, so this is playing a role in terms of the overall preparedness. And we need to basically really focus on basically not blaming anything, but what we need to do to mitigate. What is next? Well, I suspect over time the emergency preparedness will continue to be changed. It will continue to look at the how to strengthen its processes and its reporting, including audited stuff, so that you have more insight around the risk. I expect more allocation of money. I've seen it from the U.S. government alone is looking at more proactive approach with giving money to cities that are in flood-prone areas around hurricane impact. And I've suggested a long time ago for the need to have audited preparedness reports, including basically third party as part of your cycle. I believe these approach to emergency planning should be integrated with the management and monthly reporting cycles as well as the annual budgeting forecasting. Here's some additional information and links that you can look at. As I said earlier, I've worked extensively with public policy for a while. One of my pet projects is around the overall emergency planning, preparedness, risk, and crisis management, strengthening the policies and procedures around up to the point of having audited reports, including leveraging data and AI. Thank you.